5 seconds.
5 seconds. The pressure again. No. All right. Now, okay. Good evening and welcome everyone to WarsawJS Meetup number 98. Yes, we need to know that you're in the room, so make your presence known. It's a pleasure to be with you again, and we are also streaming, by the way, live on our WarsawJS YouTube channel. So welcome to the audience also at home. Yes, give me a big welcome. I'm so nervous. I don't know how to do this. Okay. Oh, I am the master of ceremonies, Barry Salone. Hi, thank you. Thanks very much. And I'm here together with a whole group of people who've worked very hard to make this happen and make this continue to happen for us in Warsaw and in Poland in general. Really appreciative to the organizers. Piotr, Gabriela Chuha. Where is she? There she is. Oh, I almost got lost. And Maciej Makniewski, we love you at home. I hope you can see us. Yes. Hope to meet and speak with you soon, Maciej. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of patience and real careful attention to detail to make this happen for you all. One of the most critical audiences on the planet, trust me. Here we are with our tech team, with one of my favorite associates, Louisa Haas, and Gabriela Boulage, who are making it possible for you to see and hear us and hear all of the fantastic information we're going to share with you today. We also have some volunteers. Piotr Sławinski. Hey, hey. And Grzegorz Markowski, who I saw a little bit earlier. Give him a hand. Come on. A little enthusiasm. Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So this is not the happiest group that I've been in front of. However, you all seem pretty anxious and pretty excited about being here. We appreciate it. What is WarsawJS? Okay, it says here that WarsawJS exists to support both professional and novice software developers within the IT community, and we intend to accelerate the process of education by sharing our knowledge and experience. Now, I know that I say this every time, but this is the thing that brought me here. It wasn't Piotr like everyone thinks. It was the fact that here you are sharing very valuable information, basically giving it away with each other as a means of support. There's more to this than just networking, and the networking part, we'll get to that part later. The sharing of information and building each other up in terms of our capabilities, our skills, our talents, our knowledge of computer languages is really, really important. And this is a very unique thing that you are doing, and that's why, the main reason why I'm here. Plus, you're also such beautiful people. Our mission statement is that we support here, we follow the Berlin Code of Conduct, which means that if you don't happen to like the color of my sneakers, you kind of keep it to yourself and say something polite. Be nice to each other. No abusive language will be tolerated on the basis of, I don't know, size, color, sex, religion, gender, what have you, because this is what makes it possible for us to gather and will make it possible for us to continue to be comfortable in this environment. Is that your happy face again? That's it. That's all we get. All right. So yeah, the idea is that we be kind to each other, and it's a very important factor. And trust me, we will uphold and enforce this code. We have currently 6,080. Wait a minute. We have 6,081 members. Finally. This means that we're very kind of comfortably almost close to that 7,000 number, which, you know, it's possible to reach by the time 98th meetup. We have 2 more meetups to make it to 6,500. So let's all do our part and try to bring friends, invite people, share our links, come to our events, let people know that we're here so that we can have a bigger party when we get to that 100th meetup, which I hope to live long enough to experience. All right. Our sponsors today, get ready for wild applause. Let's do this. While I'm saying the names, just keep clapping. Call Stack, Daft Code, Evolution, where we are now. Yes. Fresha, Prisma, and Xfang. These are our sponsors. Listen, thank you very much. That was good. Almost. We need that energy from you because this is the thing that helps it to work. This is not cheap. I mean, beer and pizza does not grow on trees. Oh, finally, I got a laugh. Okay, yeah, beer and pizza does not grow on trees. And so without the sponsors, it would be almost impossible for us to be able to be in this comfortable, modern, fantastic Wieża. Is this a Wieża? Is this a tower? New building in Warsaw. State of the art, I have to say. I'm never cease to be impressed by what's going on in Warsaw. And by the way, you all do impress me. I always say the same thing again. You are maybe the most vibrant IT community in all of Europe. So give yourselves a hand. That's it? Yeah, we are. It's a fact. We're going to give you a chance today, if you have the nerve to face this audience, to give a 5-minute lightning talk. And for doing so, you have an offer or a chance to win a 100% discount for a JetBrains license. And so if you have a topic that's in your mind or something that you're thinking about, you might be able to present, off the cuff, or if you're prepared to give a 5-minute talk, we certainly encourage you to do so. And here we are. Finally, just to announce the overall plan, we will have Łukasz Chludziński, we will have Bartek, oh boy, Iwańczuk, this is my soft spot here, let me see, and Aleksander Sorokin. Okay, these speakers will be bringing to you some very valuable information which hopefully uplift you to be more knowledgeable and have the work that you do. Having said that, let's begin. Reaction. Yeah. All right. Our first speaker, Łukasz Chludziński. Oh my gosh. Łukasz Chludziński. The topic will be Reassure, performance monitoring tool for React.js and React Native. Łukasz, are you here? Yeah. Come on with it. Welcome, Łukasz, to the stage. We need this, yes? Okay, it's all yours, sir.
No, I have this. I don't need this one.
Okay, just checking.
Jestem na streamiecie. Nie. Hello.
Hi.
How are you, Warsaw? Yeah. Can I start? Okay. So this will be talk about a performance monitoring tool, Reassure. Let's start with me. I'm Łukasz. I'm a team leader and mentor and software developer at ColdStack. I'm also a host at several podcasts, couple of podcasts, two, the React Native Show podcast by ColdStack and also the WarsawJS News. And I'm a frequent participant of WarsawJS. I'm an infrequent speaker, and I was a trainer just this one time. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Who are we as a ColdStack? We are React and React Native masters. We are a world-class React Native consultancy, and we have clients from all around the globe that we are supporting them with their complex problems, and we provide some solutions for them. We are also a Meta React Native partner. We organize React Native EU conference in Wrocław, and we are also open source contributors in React and React Native space. Let's jump into the talk, and this talk will be about confidence. So I want you to all close your eyes and imagine that you are a software development leader. Maybe you are team leader at some product company, and you take pride in the product that you're making. Your code is flawless, and you know your entire product ins and outs. And most importantly, you trust your code. But do you trust others with your code? You can open your eyes now and look at the slide here. I don't know if you can see it, but this is like 200 lines component. It's not long, but it is very generic. It is used on like thousands of screens in your application and maybe in other applications as well. Probably you cannot see. There are a lot of ifs there, a lot of if statements. And if you wrote this, how would you feel if someone wanted to change it? So again, imagine that you are the senior developer. You wake up one morning, it's like 12 o'clock. You arrive at the office, and you find this PR saying, I felt that this component was due for some refactoring, so enjoy reviewing it. And again, this screen is used in 161 screens inside your application. So you look at the changes, they don't seem too intrusive, all checks out, and maybe even you wanted the changes to happen. But do you have confidence in this like intern developer, junior developer, probably made the changes at 5 a.m. in the morning, something like that? So do you have the confidence? Sure. If you have tests in your application and all very important and real screen in this application, all 161 of them, says that they're fine with the change, you agree with the change. And this is nothing new, because this is just like a project development lifecycle. We all know this. So you add some new features, you add tests to the features, you move the product to QA stage, and then if all checks out, you release. When you find a bug, you identify the root cause, you add some more tests, and then again, you QA, you ship the fix, all checks out. But I want you to imagine that you are an expert developer, not a senior, but expert developer in world-class consultancy, React Native consultancy. And your clients hired you to do some performance investigations, some performance improvements in their application. And the application is used on dozens of markets and by millions of users. So you do it. You squeeze out the performance of this application. You memoize the components wherever it's necessary. You undo memoization whenever it's not necessary. And again, you take pride in the progress that you're making. Your code is, again, flawless. And most importantly, you trust your code. But do you trust others with your code as well? So I need a little disclaimer here. I showed this previous slide, this one, to Maciek, who is actually on the slide, and I asked him what he thought. And he told me that I shouldn't really talk about trust here. Yeah, that's the disclaimer. He told me that I shouldn't really talk about trust here because, like, I'm going to read this. It's really easy to unintentionally break performance when you're focusing on writing new code. Whether you are senior or not senior, that doesn't really matter. And spotting those performance regression without external tool has been hard historically. So the question really should be not if you trust others with your code, but do you trust that the changes you do to your code while writing features daily are not impacting performance in a bad way? So thank you, Maciej, for ruining my slide. I think the previous one was better, but yeah. So yeah, back to our regular program. It's all about confidence, if you trust others or not. Because if there only was something that would allow us to catch performance regression in a similar manner that we can catch regular bugs and regressions, we'll all be good. So Maciej searched, and he searched, and he didn't find anything. So Maciej is actually a maintainer of React Native testing library, and he created Reassure. So Reassure is performance monitoring tool. You can find more in this like QR code. And the story that I just told you is real. We have a client, Entain. Entain is a betting company. They have, I don't know, many applications. They're on 30-something countries, and they have millions of users. They came to us they wanted us to fix their performance, to fix their application in terms of performance. So yeah, we figured it out. Maciej figured it out. So the challenge was to create something that you can write tests in using familiar test syntax. And it was created by Maciej. You can find him here. So right now, I want to show you how it works, how you can use it. So yeah, fingers crossed that I can actually do that. Okay. So yeah, let's hope you can see it. And we'll be looking at the repository here. So inside my repository here, thank you so much. Inside my repository here, I have this slow list component. And this slow list component takes some prop from the parent count. It creates a new data array, and it just maps over this data array, and it renders a slow list item. And this slow list item uses this like weird pattern inside that whenever I give it a title, it will use effect based on this title, and it will just uppercase the title and display. So if I wanted to make some changes to that application, I want to know if the changes I'm making are correct, if I'm moving in the right direction. So what I can do is I can yarn reassure baseline. If I didn't use it before, I do the baseline so that reassure creates a baseline measurement to check all my future improvements against this baseline. So I write this. And what it does, it actually runs the performance test that I wrote, and I will show you in a minute. Yeah, it is quite long. It wasn't like that when I tried it at home. So let's go to the tests that I'm making. Okay, it actually went through. So in this screen, you can see that it was running a performance test against baseline main. That's the commit hash that I'm doing this on. I have two tests, the async component performance test and slow list performance test. Both tests passed, and it wrote a baseline to this performance JSON file. So if I go here and I look at my slow list, there is a performance test here that is just awaits a measured performance that I imported from Reassure. So let's look what it does inside this measured performance. So the measured performance is actually pretty simple. What it actually does is it renders from a testing library. It renders the React profiler, which is not new. This was around for years now, and it collects the results for me. And when it runs, it will create a folder in my project called Reassure, and that's my baseline measurement. It's a simple JSON with the results from React profiler. Yeah. So let's say I want to fix some performance in this application. And I know that this is a weird pattern, so I will just get rid of this. And I will just use a title, and I'm going to uppercase this like just in my JSX to uppercase. And so, okay, I have this. I want to know how much it helped my code. So I come back to my terminal. And by the way, you can use it in the pipeline as well, but terminal just gives you this faster feedback loop. And but we encourage you to connect this to your local development, but also to connect it to your pipeline. So I run Reassure without a baseline now. And what it will do is it will run the performance tests again, and then it will compare it to my baseline. So I can see there are several different sections of this. So I'm comparing the same commit. I have a section significant changes. I did it. Maciej is using some pretty serious math to actually determine what is significant change and what is meaningless change. And it shows us that we have a significant change in our async component that I didn't show you yet, but I'm gonna. And it dropped in render time from 72 to 63 milliseconds. And the render count dropped from 7 to 6. So that's like -1, -14% performance increase. And our slow list component that we actually changed dropped very significantly from 23 milliseconds to 13 milliseconds in render time and 2 to 1 in render counts. So this is a very significant performance improvement. Yeah, so that's how it looks when I make the change in a good direction. So let's see what happens if I write this current performance measurement as my baseline, and I will undo my good changes from slow list component. So yeah, I have a new baseline now, and I can do this. Let's say I'm this again, this intern developer, and I really like this new pattern that I learned in the internet. Someone told me that this is great. This is how you should do it. Yeah, let's see. I create a PR. This runs on my pipeline, on my CI, and everyone that checks my PR that does a code review for me can see that I significantly decreased performance of those two components. So that's not good. I'm not going to merge this change. So
3
yeah.
minutes left.
Oh, okay. Sure. I will not show you then the async component improvements. You can find this exact example in some documentation that I'm going to show you. So let's go back to my presentation. I'm going to stop mirroring.
Sorry, 10 minutes.
Are you kidding me?
10 minutes, yeah.
Thank you so much. Did you extend it for me, or were you just joking?
Yes, of course. 10 minutes.
Decompression, time decompression.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going back to my demo. I'm really proud of it. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So back to the story, we have this decrease in our application, and we don't want that. So I'm removing this weird pattern from my component, and I'm gonna just to uppercase it in JSX. Okay, so if I run again my Reassure, it should compare. There should be no changes, right? Because my baseline has this small improvement already counted in. So I can see that there are no significant changes to my render duration, but there are some meaningless changes to my render duration. So I'm going to talk about more about this in the end of this talk, but you cannot expect that your code will run the same like millisecond time each time you run it. There are some variables there, so we have to be careful what is meaningless here. And like the render counts are pretty obvious. Those should not change, but the time it takes to render some component, this will fluctuate. So there are actually some cool tricks that they did, Maciej and others that created Reassure did, to actually count if something is significant versus if something is not significant. So that's my new baseline. And the test that I showed you is pretty simple. This is just await measure performance. I'm going to show you another test right now that is more complicated. It adds more to the table that just measuring rendering times. So I have this other component. It's called async component, and so it has a button here. It has a count here, and then it renders my slow list. My slow list count doesn't depend on the count here, but it will re-render each time I change the state here, because it's just direct child, so it's gonna re-render. I have this set timeout here to mock some asynchronous calls or something like that. So just, you don't have to know what's going on. This is a set count. This is a use state hook, and I'm increasing the counter while pressing this press equal component. Okay, so how do I write a test to check for that scenario? I can use scenario. So I, again, await my measure performance, but what Reassure allows me to do is to pass a scenario to my measure performance. So my scenario is that I find my button and I just press it several times. That's all. And again, if you go into measure performance, you can see that there are options here. And as options, you can provide runs, so how many times you want it to run, some wrappers, and scenario. Okay, so if I were to change this component, and I have this actually commented here, the change in the right direction, I could just memoize the child here. I can say, don't render me this list like that, just use the latest reference that useMemo provided. So let's go to Reassure again. And yeah, my baseline is this small change to slow list. Let's see how this will do. And I can see that my async component actually dropped very significantly in render time from 61 to 15. Render count didn't change, but yeah, that is great improvement. I can come back to my client. I can go back to my client and say, give me some raise or something. This is very good. Again, meaningless improvement in slow list render time. This actually increased, but we don't care about that. Okay, so that was demo. Am I on time?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna stop mirroring, and I will go back to my presentation now. So that was demo. I think it went good. Actually, I had a video. Thank you. Thank you so much. Whoa. Actually, I had a video if the demo didn't went so well, but it did, so I'm not gonna play it. And again, so if you were to connect this tool to your CI, in your PRs, you could see something like that: performance comparison tests, blah, blah, blah. And we have this, again, the same sections: significant changes, insignificant changes, meaningless changes, render count, stuff like that. So based on that, you can either allow this PR to go into your master branch or something or not. Like I said, there are some challenges when creating a performance benchmark. So before Reassure, what I've seen in the project that I've been was to either use a stopwatch and actually use the application and see on each screens how it performs after the changes. Or I actually saw other examples as well. But this is very not precise. It's not very precise. So the same story is when you run your application in Node in like React Native testing library. The stability of this and flakiness, you have to take it into account. So what they actually did, Michał, Maciej, and other folks at CallStack, they run Node with some flags turned on so that it doesn't use garbage collection. They manually control garbage collection. So you are sure that garbage collector is not kicking in while you are performing some task. I think they are disabling just-in-time compilation as well. And the Reassure runs your tests default 10 times. So, and from this 10-time run, they will take some average, some mean, I don't know, some math thingies, right? Yes, I'm finishing. Yeah, they're doing all of this. If you want to find out more about Reassure, you can treat this talk as a middle point. I actually created a podcast with Maciej and with Michał when we discussed Reassure for like an hour and some minutes in detail, so you can get to know Reassure firsthand from creator of Reassure. And actually, Michał Pierzchała, who is our head of technology, he gave a talk about Reassure, which is high-level overview on App.js conference. The link is here. And yes, thank you so much for listening to this talk. You can find out more in this QR code. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. Okay. First of all, please forgive my flakiness.
Yeah.
Because my eyesight is an issue. So I mistakenly thought that you had only 5 minutes left when you actually had 15.
It wasn't you. It was
no, it was me. I'm telling you, it was my flakiness. And even I feel reassured after that presentation. No, I mean, it seemed very reassuring for people who are doing your kind of work. Does anyone have any questions for Łukasz? Daniel.
Thank you, Barry. And thank you for creating this. You guys are doing his stellar job.
I didn't, but I'm gonna tell them that you said.
And I'm definitely going to check this out, as I am the person who is a team leader and is maintaining a React Native app in production. And in my use case, like performance correlates to real money of customers. So I'm definitely gonna be checking it out. My question is, if I understand correctly, this doesn't run on the device or in the simulator. It's just
this is like your regular testing library test. It runs on Node.
And did you guys like check how well these Node results correlate with the actual renderers on a device?
Oh yeah. So this is actually a topic that I asked about in the podcast. So this is meaningless, because what we want to do is we want to take the baseline measurement and compare it to current measurement. This is not supposed to emulate real user on real device, because you can have like tens of Android phones with very different test results. So what we want to do is we want to take the same node machine and compare the apples to apples. So actually, when you pipe it to your pipeline, to your CI, the baseline that you took a week ago can be different machine than the current measurements that you are doing right now. So what we do in our script, in our CI, is we run the baseline again the same time, right before we do the current measurements. So we are sure that you are doing this on the same machine.
So that's right, but the real thing I'm interested in is like when Reassure tells me that nothing has changed in Reassure tests, how sure can I be that nothing has gone wrong with performance on an actual device.
So there are different tools to do that on the actual user device. You can use like Firebase, stuff like that. What is different in approach in these two approaches is that we give you a fast feedback loop, but not a real thing. This is just a proxy of a real thing. What you get from tools like Firebase or others is that you get real results on real devices, and you know which devices perform how, but you have to wait for this result. So your PR has actually have to actually go into master, go into the production, and you have to wait a few days for the results to aggregate, and only then you can see your changes. So what Maciej is actually proposing is that you use both.
I like the stopwatch solution. Stopwatch, two different
This
devices.
is terrible.
For me,
do
that's
that.
perfect. This just makes sense. Anyone else have any questions for Łukasz about this Reassure? Seems like an amazing tool to me. Here you go.
New company, do you have any acceptance criteria for this performance test when you make releases?
Well, this is very relative to your needs. So we actually don't fail the test if the results are rubbish, if you decreased your application performance 10 times, because this is not the tool to tell you that you didn't want this. You could actually write some meaningful changes to your code that dropped in performance, but this is what your client wants. So this is not a 01 if statement. This is a relative measure to give you some knowledge as a PR reviewer, as a coder, to know what your code is doing. This is not fail or pass kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. That was amazing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, I don't do this for a living. I'm not a developer or a coder or a programmer or an engineer or an architect. However, I can see the value in that, you know, and this idea of, how do we know for sure? Well, you know, we always take our chances. This does seem like a very, very incredibly well thought out tool. All right, so having done that, we're ready for our next speaker, and this will be Bartek Iwańczuk. Are you in the room? Oh, Mr. Happy Face. And the topic is State of Deno 2022. Welcome to the stage. Welcome again. I think you need that.
Hi everyone, my name is Bartek. I'm here to talk to you about Deno. Before we get into it.
Nie słychać się niestety. Możesz z tego użyć?
Sure.
Deno, not Deno.
Can you hear me now?
Deno?
Yeah, it's Deno. These days it's Deno. Okay, before we get started, I actually want to do a quick show of hands. I'm sure everyone has used JavaScript at least once. You used TypeScript? Yeah, a lot of people. Okay. Has any one of you heard about Deno before? Have you used it? Okay. That's way more people than I expected. So let's jump right into the presentation, and I'll try to interest you in Deno and give it a try. So we'll talk about state of Deno in 2022 and going into 2023. So shortly about me, I'm Bartek. I'm a software engineer working at the Denoland company. I started contributing to Deno in September 2018, just a few months after it came out. And I became the first employee of the company that was formed in December 2019. And currently I'm leading the CLI team. So we have a few teams in the company, and yeah. So what is Deno for those of you who have not heard of it yet? Deno is a modern JavaScript and TypeScript runtime. So for those folks of you who use TypeScript but don't really like twiddling with TSC or TS Node or any other tool you might use, Deno might be right up your alley. Deno is supposed to be fun and productive, and I hope to show you that today in some short demos. And it allows you to get started with TypeScript in literally seconds. And to prove that, here's a small example. One thing that might be odd to you is that we are actually running a URL, and we're actually running a TypeScript file directly. So this is kind of similar to the browsers, right? You can load and execute code directly from a URL, but in the browsers, you cannot really execute TypeScript unless you transpile it first yourself. How Deno came to be? It was introduced in the world by Ryan Dahl. Ryan is actually the original author of Node.js. So a few years back, Ryan did a presentation, somewhat famous at this point, that was called 10 Things I Regret About Node.js. Spoiler, it's only 7 things actually, but give it a watch anyway. Yeah, Ryan introduced Deno in 2018 during this presentation. Then exactly 2 years after that, we released Deno 1.0. And currently we are sitting at 127.2. So another thing about Deno is that it is secure by default. What does it mean? Well, it means that your application cannot touch your file system, cannot connect to the internet, cannot read any environmental variables, spawn sub-processes, load native libraries, whatever you want, unless you actually explicitly tell Deno to do that. And how does it look? Well, if you try to read something from the disk, you will get this interactive prompt that Deno tells you, hey, you're trying to read something from disk, but I don't really have a permission to do that. Do you want me to do that or not? And there's also a hint here that you can pass -- allow read flag to actually disable this prompt. So we'll see this in a second, that you can granularly tell Deno what you want it to do or not. So you can limit reading from file system just to current working directory, for example. And another highlight of Deno is that it's web compatible all the way. How many of you are front-end engineers? So you know browser APIs, right? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just use the same APIs on the server? So you get bored with front end and want to move to the back end. It'd be nice if you could just transfer all of this knowledge that you already know without having to learn new APIs. And this is what Deno enables you to do. We favor web standard APIs over inventing our own. So obviously, many more APIs than Node. So here's a short list of APIs that you can already use in Deno. Fetch, we had Fetch since version 1. Node just added it recently, and it's not yet there in terms of client it is. We got streams, we got web workers. So if you use Thread browser, you can do it the exact same way in Deno. Blob, location, text encoder, decoder. We even have prompt, confirm, and alert. These are like obscure APIs that you probably shouldn't use, but in a quick CLI script, like you don't need to pull Inquirer or Commander or whatever. You can just use these free APIs from the web and they will work perfectly fine. And another, and probably the biggest feature of Deno is that it's a whole toolchain in one binary. So who loves to configure prettier, ESLint, tsnode, etc.? Everyone? Yeah, everyone. Okay, you don't have to anymore. We ship with all of these tools. So you want a bundler, you have a bundler. You need to test your code. There is Deno test, and we'll see in a moment how easy it is to run write tests. We have a task runner, repo. We even have an LSP. So like all you need to get productive and run production code with Deno is just Deno itself. It's one single binary that is about 50, 60 megs that has all of this tooling that you might need during your work. Yeah, I think I will demo some of these. Okay, I will demo them now. So let me just go to my WarsawJS. Can you still hear me? Because I won't be able to type and hold the microphone. Okay. So let's just see how easy it is to actually do some TypeScript with Deno. I'm gonna type Deno in it, and that's it. You can run TypeScript. So Deno run main.ts, done. So no npm install, no configuration, no copy pasting. It's just it. And test, just type Deno test. It picks up a file, it type checks it, and you're done. So if I make something that is not correct, for example, my function add, whoops, I need to enable Deno here. Sure, Deno is enabled. So we have all the IntelliSense. Our add function takes 2 numbers. If I put a string here and try to run the tests again, it will obviously fail with TypeScript will complain that your types are incompatible. And that's it. I did not do anything magical. I didn't copy paste any config. I just typed Deno in it. And you know what? It's just 2 files that literally do nothing. So it's just like a quick scaffold for you if you don't want to like create new file manually. Okay, maybe let's continue with presentation for now, and I'll show you some more things later. So where are we with Deno at the end of 2022? Well, I think we're in a great place, actually, and we have some exciting new features that were shipped in past quarter that we're still working on and improving them. So one of the problems that many people had with Deno up to this point is that Deno was not NPM compatible. So you had all of these dependencies that you use in your day-to-day work, and you couldn't really use them very easily. You could use them via CDNs like skypack.dev or esm.sh, but it was hit or miss. So some of them worked, some of them didn't. And that was the thing that stopped people from using Deno or adopting Deno more broadly. So we added NPM compatibility. But fear not, we're not getting into the same black hole of node modules problem that in every single directory you have the heaviest object in the universe. We actually solved this pretty cleverly, in my opinion and in our team opinion. Notice this URL. It says import express from npm:/express. That's it. You don't need npm install. You just type Deno run. Deno will pull this package for you once. So if you use it in tens of different projects, you will have one copy of it. So folks who use pnpm might feel familiar. And that's it. You can now use npm and npm dependencies, and you can use a lot of them. There are still some dependencies, like really complex one, that might not yet work perfectly, but a lot of stuff just works these days. And by the way, like if you try this will actually run faster in Deno than in Node. So you will get more requests per second out of your Express server in Deno than in Node. Which is coming to the next slide is that we have a fastest, let's keep this fastest for now as a question, HTTP server. So performance was always important in Deno. We used a Rust-based server called Hyper to have a very good HTTP performance, and especially to have a correct HTTP server. Hyper is used in many huge applications throughout the world. For example, AWS uses Hyper heavily. However, after more benchmarking and more in-depth analysis, we found that, yeah, Hyper is fast, but it's not as fast as it could be. So we took a stab at it and tried to improve the performance of our HTTP server, which is still materializing, but we have very promising results already, and we're working hard on making it the fastest in the world. Obviously for JavaScript runtimes, right? Like we won't outperform native Rust server that runs on 8 threads and single-threaded JavaScript, but you can still eke out so much performance in a single-threaded JavaScript runtime that it's just bonkers. And by the way, 99% of the time, you don't need this performance. But if you do, it is there. So another thing is that Deno has something called standard library, which is many people said that is like a missing piece in JavaScript. So Python has a standard library, Ruby has a standard library, every single language has a standard library, but JavaScript. Node obviously has some built-in modules, and then you have NPM, which is by far the biggest package manager in terms of number of packages in the world. But there's a problem. You need to look up these dependencies yourself. You probably should audit them before you use them, because we had many not so nice surprises in the past few years that packages were hijacked or maintainers went rogue. So Deno took a different approach. We decided we were going to have a standard library, which means it's just a module, a package, a library that has multiple different modules for very common tasks that are audited by us, and we guarantee that they will work with specific Deno version. And yeah, as you can see on the left-hand side, there is this little blue check mark, which might be unfortunate given recent doesn't matter. Yeah, so if you're not used Deno's standard library at will, it's really awesome, and turns out you don't need to pull 20 different dependencies to do something simple. You can just reach out to Deno's standard library. Then we have something called denoland/x, which is kind of a package manager for Deno, or maybe package repository, but it's really just a glorified redirect server. So you can just, connect your GitHub repository to denoland/x, and then on each Git tag you add, we will pull this code, we will cache it indefinitely. So it's meant to be immutable, and for free you get like automatic documentation generation for everything. So like just use TSDoc or JSDoc, and thanks to our infrastructure in the binary, we can just analyze over all of your code and generate documentation for it. And I'm just going to show it to you really quickly. So let's go to Oak. Oak is one of the HTTP frameworks for Deno, and I'm going to click view documentation. And if we scroll down, we got all of the symbols available in the library available here. And you can actually search for these symbols from all of the available libraries. So similar to Go, like go.dev or go.pkg has this feature where every single Go library is indexed and you can search through them. And it's similar here in Deno. You just press Command K or Control K, I believe, on other systems, and you just type a symbol that you want to search, and there you go. You're searching through all the available libraries. I have no idea how to go back to full screen now. Okay, this should work. I said all of that. Okay, then we have Fresh. Fresh is the next gen web framework. Everyone loves a new framework every week, right? Obviously not, but since Deno has such a different paradigm than Node or other existing solutions, we thought it's best that we have a first-class web framework, which actually connects nicely with the next slide I want to show you. Look at this awesome logo and animation. Fresh is a framework that leverages everything good that is in Deno. It has TypeScript out of the box, no configuration, no build step. It's based on this brand new and hyped architecture that is called island-based client hydration. So you send no JavaScript to your user by default. Everything is just rendered on the server. And it works very well with something called Edge. Edge is when you deploy your code close to the user. So we have AWS, GCP, Azure. They have data centers all over the world. So there's a good chance that any of your users is like 50 to 100 milliseconds away from the closest data center, and you can execute this code there instead of like having a single managed server in Europe and another one in say States, which allows you to drastically lower the latency and time to first byte. So for example, like e-commerce sites, they are all about latency. Like every 10 millisecond longer wait time means 1% drop in conversion, right? So the money just goes out of the window the longer you wait. So it's good to be as fast as possible. And to that, we have Deno Deploy, which is our cloud offering. Deno Deploy allows you to ship your code using this Edge thing. So you can, again, deploy TypeScript, WASM, JavaScript. It deploys literally in seconds. I will try to actually demo it in a second. And it's pretty awesome. It's again, a new paradigm that is just being popularized by other products like Netlify Edge Functions or Cloudflare Workers, and obviously Deno Deploy. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. Okay, maybe a short demo now because my throat starts to hurt because of all this talking. So I'll show you how you can actually use npm with Deno. So I'm back at my terminal. Let's try to run some simple package like Cause. Maybe that will work. Hello, WarsawJS. I hope this will work. Okay, I need unstable flag, right? Because you will see next week. It won't be necessary. But for now, I'll just add it. Look, I just said run this npm package, and like Deno just downloaded all of the dependencies automatically. I didn't do npm install or anything as such. And again, we got these permission prompts. So like this package wants to read your current working directory for whatever reason. Okay, I will allow it. Then it wants to access my environmental variables, sure, and more and more. Like why just printing something with a cow ASCII art requires so many permissions? But oh well, it does. So, but let's say I trust Cause. It won't do anything nefarious to my machine, so I'm just gonna like allow all permissions. Yeah, it works. Hello, WarsawJS. Thank you. So this is like a really simple example, right? But maybe let's try something more complex. How am I on time?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, I'll make it quick. So let's try something more interesting. Has anyone used Vite? Sure. Okay. Create Vite extra. Vite project sounds good. I'll use Deno View because I love Vue. And I'll just switch here and then run Deno task dev. And I'll go to this URL if I can click it or just copy paste it. boom, sure enough, you can use Vite and some of your favorite front-end frameworks with Deno these days. So like there's no longer an explanation that, yeah, this is not compatible, so Deno is interesting, but I can't use it in my day work. Now you can give it a try. Okay, I'm short on time, so I'll just continue with the presentation. So what's coming in 2023? We'll keep working on our npm compatibility to ensure that like you can use 80-90% of the packages available there. Some of them won't be available because they are like very old and use very old Node APIs that we cannot really polyfill, but we'll get there. We want to have best DX in class, which we kind of think we already do, like TypeScript, done. You want testing, done. Everything is there for you out of the box. But there are still improvements to be made there, so we'll do them. We want to grow the ecosystem, so make it easier for newcomers to discover how to use Deno. So more tutorials, more learning materials, more first-class dependencies. And finally, we want to have the fastest HTTP server that will be like confirmed with a real in-depth performance analysis, not like one-off benchmarks. Oh, by the way, we're hiring. So if you're interested in like low-level stuff that is very hard to do, and you know JavaScript, TypeScript, or Rust, shoot us an email. And thank you. That's all from me, and I'll be happy to answer some questions now. You can find slides at this URL. Feel free to shoot me a message or visit our websites, our blog, where we share release notes and some other interesting reading materials. Thanks for having me. On the spot.
Bravo. Please don't go anywhere. I really sympathize with you with the throat thing. So I've had some discussions. By the way, for our audience at home, if you're watching our stream, please feel free to leave any questions or comments on our WarsawJS YouTube channel. There is already a question. Okay, here it comes from the WarsawJS YouTube channel. What's the question?
So there is a question from Bob Simple. My question is a bit too specific. Is there a lib compatibility planned? libuv. Try to run playwright in Deno, but no luck there.
Yeah, libuv is like the event loop that Node uses. So browser has an event loop, Node has an event loop, Deno has an event loop. We're written in Rust, not C and C++. So libuv is essentially incompatible with Deno. There are some strides made to actually do that, but I wouldn't bet on it. I'm sure we can find another solution to actually make playwright. Was it playwright? Yeah, I'm sure we can make playwright work. I'm pretty sure it uses Node API which actually is now supported in Deno. So yeah, just open an issue with us and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you very much, Bob says. You heard. He said you heard it. Before I go to you guys, I heard one thing. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was this automatic documentation? No, automatic documentation generation. Yeah. Wait, free automatic documentation? Was the free part also involved? Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, I'm just.
Deno.plan, and you can just put a URL to CS module or TypeScript module, and it will generate a documentation for you. So like, I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna click one of these links. Not that it will work for sure.
Because from what I understand, my conversations with some of you guys, there's a complaint constantly about not enough time for documentation. There wasn't time for that. I was too stressed. It was asynchronous. Everything was happening at once. So it sounds like a good thing to me. Here you are.
Yeah, I have one simple question. So what is the biggest advantage of switching to Deno over NPM, in your opinion?
Switching.
Over NPM?
Yeah, over Node. Sorry.
Over Node.
No, microphone.
Well, it really depends on your use case. So like the obvious answer. It depends, right? If you have a project that is working perfectly fine, that is probably like a commercial project, there's most likely little to no incentive, especially economically, to do that, because rewrites are risky, they're costly, and they usually are not better than what you already have. But if you're starting greenfield, I'd say that 2 or 3 days that you will save on configuring your whole toolchain on your project might be worth from the get-go, and then it will only get better because like we have end-to-end experience. So it's not yet like you need to stitch the tools yourself. These tools are provided to you out of the box by Deno, and they work very, very well with each other. So like you don't need to set up prettier. You just run Deno FMT. Your code is formatted, and like your CI pipeline, you can literally just copy paste it from our documentation and have a GitHub pipeline that runs in 5 seconds, set up in under 2 minutes. So yeah, again, if you're starting a greenfield project, I think it's worth it just for the sake of how easy it is to get going. Unless you, of course, love your tools and have like bespoke template that you just use for every single project you start. Maybe it's not for you, but yeah, it's a breath of fresh air in terms of developer experience compared to what you get these days.
Always good to have more choices. That's what I say. One more question.
Hey, thank you for presentation. I tried to use Deno a few years ago, just for fun to try it. And one thing that I really didn't like, that on the first look, when you use this URL imports, yeah, it's look great, easy, and etc. Yeah, but when you think about the really big project, hundreds of files, for example, and etc., each of them have an import, and for example, you want to update the package with new version.
What's your question?
How you can do that easily?
Question. Oh, that was it.
How do you do that in Node world? You use package.json, right? Yeah. Guess what? There's a web standard for that. It's called import maps. It's essentially it's very similar to package.json and its dependencies field, but the advantage is that it works on the web too. So you can use burst specifiers in your websites if you provide a package import map. And you can do the same in Deno. So you can have like a single JSON file where you specify all of your versions and then use burst specifiers instead of full URLs. And the great thing about this is like you write this in Deno once, so you can write it on the server, but then you can easily transfer this code to the browser because it uses the web standard solution. So you essentially will just have to like switch URLs to a CDN instead of local file paths, and it works. However, with package.json doesn't really work in the browsers, right? So you have to generate something else, which will probably an import map anyway.
Okay, everyone, let's. Of course, I knew there was. We have time for one more question. Of course, no. Okay, I'm getting a no. You know what? You can talk about this later on when you meet in person. There'll be plenty of opportunities to speak with this guy in the networking session. So thank him once more time. Let's please thank him one more time. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Okay, our next presentation will be by Aleksander Sorokin. Are you in the room? Aleksander, there you are. Come on to the stage while I figure out what the title of your talk is going to be. It's going to be Functional Programming in TypeScript Using FPTS. Is that it? Oh, thank God. I did that by memory, you see? See what I did there? Nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you. Take your time setting up. Is anyone here for the first time? 1, 2. No, keep your hands up. Let's see. Everybody, welcome our newcomers. Welcome and welcome. We need you to feel welcome, to know that, yeah, this is what we call, we're really proud of the fact that we have a very diverse community. Me being the example of diversity, being as I'm not a programmer at all. You may be wondering in that case, yeah, what is he doing here anyway? Well, you know, the thing, as I said before, that really drew me to this community was the fact that people are literally offering information more or less for free, valuable information, and sharing information when your time is so valuable. This doesn't happen so obviously. Many people would tend to keep this valuable knowledge somewhere under their, in their pocket so that they could earn more money. I think that together as a community, if you pay attention to this, Poland, you are the most vital, the most vibrant IT community in all of Europe. If you work together, the world is starting to pay attention and realize that. And this is not just for the sake of earning money for other people. It's for the sake of being in the position to make advances, to be at the forefront of what's happening in IT. So, we're really appreciative. I know I'm appreciative. That's why I'm here. I see what's happening and I see this whole sharing, and I need to just ask a question. What? Of course. And of course, please support us on social media. Go to our website, WarsawJS, on Facebook, and also warsaw.com, www.warsaw.com, WarsawJS.com, przepraszam najmocniej. And yes, I try sometimes to throw in a Polish word or two, but that's really exhausting. So I'm here because I really believe in you guys, and I'm really, really impressed by what I see. And also the organizers are friends of mine, so that doesn't hurt. And are you almost ready, Aleksander?
Yeah. So we are preparing just to start.
Oh, nothing went wrong. We have a slight delay. Let's see. Can I tell any jokes? No. What can I do in the meantime? How many people are really here? Again, newcomers. This is kind of important because I feel like we're adding to the community. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you have any? Oh, I'm going to put you on the spot so bad. So how do you feel about it so far?
So far, everything has been very interesting, and looking forward for the next talk. And that's it.
That's it. Okay, good. Very interesting. Great. Are you having a good time though? Is it enjoyable? Is it more than tolerable? Okay. That's very important feedback. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. And welcome. Are we ready? Gotowi jesteśmy? Aha, so yes. Jestem w stanie mówić po polsku też, jeżeli to będzie naprawdę potrzebne, ale niechętnie. Jest mi jeszcze bardzo, bardzo ciężko. Wszystko mi boli, i gardło, i usta, i wszystko. I głowa.
You said that speaking Polish is exhausting, and I think that's why we all are so tired,
Oh, for you as well. Oh, okay. So I'm not the only one. It is kind of tiring. It's amazing. This language, I mean, come on, guys. Really? It takes a lot of energy to complain. I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to really feel it. I feel you. Very much so. Have fun. Okay, Aleksander, give him a hand once more.
Hello, everyone. Does it work?
Just leave it. It works. Stay the same. Yes, it works. I think just for streaming. Yeah, you should be using this. You should be using
This one?
Yeah.
For the streaming.
Okay.
It might be strange for you, but believe us.
Okay, fine. So, hello, everyone. I would like to talk about functional programming in TypeScript using FPCS library. So, let's start from the introduction. So, a few words about me. I have been programming for over 8 years already. Mainly, I'm using Scala, TypeScript, C++, and Rust. So I graduated from University of Warsaw in computer science, and I have been working at Evolution for the last 1.5 years, and as a Scala backend developer. So I don't use TypeScript at work, but still I can share my experience with FPCS library in TypeScript. So let's talk about FPCS library. So this library is created by Giulio Canti, and it's actually highly inspired by Haskell, PureScript, and Scala, and includes the most of popular data types, type classes, and abstractions, and has own implementation of higher-kinded types, which TypeScript doesn't support natively. And the only one downside what I noticed, it's not really so beginning friendly from the documentation perspective. So you need to know some functional programming basics to use this library. So why should you learn FPTS? So to get better type safety, first of all, and to model your code in an elegant way, and also get all profit from FPTS ecosystem, which includes such libraries as IOTS for validating JSON in runtime. If you know ZOD, so it's actually similar library, but it's built on top of FPTS. And to use, for example, Monaco TS, which is just a port from Scala Monaco library, and it provides possibility to manipulate immutable data structures. And just to become a better programmer, to know more paradigms and to learn about some new techniques and maybe use in your code. And you shouldn't know any math except basic ones, such as lambda calculus or category theory, just to start using this library. And a few words about the presentation. The FPTS library is not widely used at Evolution, so we have just a few projects which are isolated, and we have FPTS as dependency, but it's not like our main stack. And the presentation is more about my personal impressions and my personal findings, and it might be a little bit subjectivity opinion, but still. And I don't want to bore you with buzzwords and hard understanding definitions, so we will naturally learn using some basic examples. So let's start. Let's define a basic model. So we define a user with a username, which is string. And we have a function, createUser, which accepts username and returns a user. So yeah, let's create a user. Does anyone see some problems with this code? Everything looks fine. So let's jump into createUser function, and here we just call user of method, and still everything looks fine, isn't it? Let's jump into of method, and surprise, here we have some exceptions. And actually, I marked constructor as a private to disable inheritance, and actually created a static method of just to have, let's name it smart constructor. And we check here username length, and we throw an exception, and we are checking for content of this username just to allow only numbers and Latin letters. And in case of success, we return the new user. So yeah, we need to use strike hedge. And the problem here is that we don't know actually what errors can we have here. The type of error by default is unknown. And we can define some errors actually. So let's define username length is a valid error. So we also mark it constructor as a private, and we have some smart constructor. And also we created a tag field just to have possibility to check by tag instead of using instance of, which is basically unsafe in JavaScript runtime. And let's define the second error, that's basically the same. And we define user validation error, which basically is union type with username length is valid error and username has special characters error. So we changed actually errors what we throw. And what does it change? We still have the same create user. We can use instance of just to do something with errors, handle them in some way. So the problem is here what we still can have some new errors, and we don't know if actually set of errors has been changed. So we still have error unknown, and here is the problem. We use exceptions, which is basically go-to programming. So we can check create a user function and everything looks fine, and we need to go deeper. Of course, we can read some documentation or some comments, but we don't have a possibility to check all exceptions what we can have in JavaScript, TypeScript. So what can we do with this code? So just to know which errors can we have, and also to have a better type safety. So the simplest thing what we can do is a return user validation error. So here we have a union user validation error or user. And instead of throw exceptions, errors, we will just return them. So the signature of create user has changed, and we still need to return user validation error or user, and the code itself has not been changed. And actually our app example is a little bit different. So we can check using instance of, or we can also check with type property, and after that we can work with a user, or we can handle typed errors. We know exactly what errors can we have, and we still can have some exceptional situations. So basically exceptions are for exceptional situations. We don't need to catch out of memory error or something like this. We need to catch our business logic errors, and that's it. And can we do it better? Yes, we can. Let's introduce some type named like either. So it's either left or right, and left has a left value and right has a right value. And we also have the same pattern to have discriminated unions, just to check what error, what part of either we have. The signature has changed. Instead of returning a union, we return something like either some validation error or user. So in the smart constructor, we just create left value or right value. So it's pretty similar to the previous one. So here the signature also has changed. And in our app example, we call create user. We have user or error, and we can use is right helper function from FPTS library, and we still can take all benefits from using this. So let's extend our model. Let's add a new field, which is named like is blocked boolean. By default, it's false. And let's add a helper method, which basically copies the existing username, because we have an invariant that username should be validated. So if we created a user, that should be totally fine if we will create a copy of user with the same username, and actually is blocked can be true or false, and these states are both valid. So and create so actually create user is the same, and create a new function which has signature like it takes a user and returns either some error or user. But just like error in type signature is not really helpful. Error can be anything. So we would like to define our business logic error, just like user is already blocked error, and it's basically the same as before. And we would like to return either user is already blocked error or user. And block user function is pretty straightforward. We are checking if user is already blocked. If it's blocked, we return left value with error. In case of everything okay, we return right value with modified user. And here we just need to check if we had error with creating user, and after that we would like to block user, and we need to check also if we had error, and actually it still feels imperative, and I personally don't like this code. It's hard to understand what's going on, but we use pure functions. We handle all our business logic errors gracefully. We have typed errors, and yeah, we would like to improve this code, but before that we need to get familiar with some new. So let's go ahead. Let's assume we have some function named multiply 10, which takes a number and returns number and multiplies this number by 10. We have add to function, which just makes +2. And we have show function, which takes number and returns strings. So it's basically toString function. And let's combine them together. And what result will we have here? Anyone? Yeah, 42. Maybe.
Oh yeah, okay.
So let's make it generic. So let's define add function, which takes 2 parameters instead of 1. So we take 2 numbers and we just return a sum of this. And it's getting worse because it's actually hard to read and define which function we call here, and we can have more and more argument passed. So we would like to improve this, and we can improve this using pipe function. So we just use an initial value at the beginning. We read it from left to right. So we have 4 at the beginning. We multiply 4 by 10, and we add 2 at the end, and we just convert this to string. And what if we would like to use our, let's say, generic add function? We cannot use it just like that because we need to pass a function which takes only one parameter. So we need to inline some function which takes only one parameter, and we need to use our let's say generic add function. And it's actually not the right way how we usually do that. Instead of that, we just convert this function to caret one. So we take one parameter and we return a new function which takes also one parameter and returns a number. So using this approach, we can just like bind add2 and we have a new function returned here. And it's basically better to read, in my opinion. Let's jump into, let's say, pure JavaScript, TypeScript world, and we define some array, and we use well-known methods like filter, map, flat map, and here, what result will we have? Anyone? Both type and value. And that's it? Only two values in array? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's for you. Yeah, here we just filter our array, so we are removing zeros. We map our array over some function which multiplies by 4, so we have 4 and 4, and we have flat map which returns a new array. So, and actually you should remember flat map. We will use it a lot soon. So if we just like, let's say, if we would have here map instead of flat map, we would have nested array, right? I really love this syntax, but we have some problems here. What if we would like to add a new functionality for the array implementation? I had in my life many times where I would like to write a generic function which will do something with array or some other data structures, but we cannot. What actually can we do here? Just like to fill it natively, we can extend array prototype, so and add a new method here and use. But please don't extend array prototype. What else can we have? We can just add a pure function and call it if it needed. So it sounds much better to me. So let's think about some exercise and let's create some dummy problem. Like, let's say we need to continue this chain and get the sum of the first n elements. So, for example, we would like to get a sum for the first 3 elements. And the implemented solution should be optimized for potentially frequent queries. And it's pretty simple. So we need to create a new array with partial sums, and we can simply look up by index in a constant type. So the problem here, what we need to create a partial sum array. How can we do this? We can use something like scanleft. It's basically similar to reduce, but it remembers intermediate values. It's one of my favorite functions. So here we have 0 value, we have a reduce function, and as the last parameter, we take an array, and we do this in a separate function. We will check later why we did this. And actually, the implementation of this is not really essential, so we can just assume that we do some reduce and remember each value. So if we will have a reduce function, so which basically sums accumulated value and the current value, so we can get an array of partial sums. The implementation of this is not important, and it's your home task, let's say. And let's define a lookup function, which takes some index and also takes an array also as a new function. And it returns an option at the end. Option we define in the similar way, just like either, but the left side doesn't have a value. So just like the left side doesn't exist. And let's define a lookup implementation because it's pretty simple. We just use a normal JavaScript syntax, and we have from nullable function, which actually takes some value or undefined or null and converts it to option. Because even by the default, if we use our bracket syntax to get a value, we always have with actually value type. We even don't have value or undefined in TypeScript. So we would like to use option, but option is not essential. I would like to focus on either today. So yeah, let's go ahead. And we can use it in this way. So we had our initial chain, and we just pass the result to scanLeft to get our partial functions or partial sums, and at the end we call lookup for the third element. And also what result will we have here? So we create 10. Yeah, that's true. We have some of 10, but still it's valid. So okay, it works fine, but still it's hard to read and understand what's going on, because we need to read it from the middle, and execution is not clear here. And we would like to use scanLeft and lookup as a method call, but we cannot for now. And how can we achieve this? We can use pipe. So we use here predefined functions from FPTS, just like filter, map, chain, and we use our custom functions like scanLeft and lookup. And the result here will be the same, but it looks much better. And actually, I would like to show you a new proposal into ECMAScript, so which provides a pipeline operator. So it looks even better because we just like call a method on the initial array, and we can chain our functions this way.
2 minutes.
So we converted our an initial approach to something like this, and it looks much better. because these calls feel like a method call. All execution functions are tree-shaked well, because if we create, let's say, custom implementation and a lot of methods, JavaScript bundles cannot tree-shake it and remove unused methods. So, but it works well with pure functions which are not related to some objects. And if something is not used, so this simply will not be included into your bundle. And FPCS already provides a lot of functions like scanLeft and lookup. These functions are also included to the FPCS library. So let's come back to our example. How can we actually change it? We would like to use our success path here. Just like if we had right value, we would like to use it again. If we had some error, we would like to handle this. And we can use simply using chain, which is flat map, as we saw looking at the array implementation. So we just create a user and we return here either, and we call chain on this either, and we return here in the function a new either. So at the end we still have user or error, and we can handle all intermediate errors, and all these errors will be typed. So what's the benefit here? So we converted our imperative-like code to be more functional and more elegant, and it's pretty cool. Let's go ahead. Programs without dealing with the outside world are really useful. We need to write to console, read from the database, insert some HTML elements into the DOM tree, and let's define a new function, insert user. So here we simulate some synchronous inserting into the database, but instead of this, we just call console log. And this function takes a user and returns a void. And let's use it. So here we just create a... yeah, I have a couple.
I have a proposal. Oh, good question. May I?
Yeah.
Thank you. I need to use this microphone. Alexander, yes, this is a very interesting presentation, and here is our dilemma. We are about to take a break to have a short stretch, and also pizza, which is now currently getting cold. So I have a proposition.
Yep.
Can we finish your presentation after the break and then do questions and answers?
Yep, sure.
Okay, everyone hold that thought. Can we have some lights, please? This would be really, really useful because of the fact that the pizza will be cold, and then everyone's going to be angry, and then is it a good idea?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. So everyone, let's invite you to the pizza. We'll meet you back here in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I apologize for interrupting.
That's fine. I just suggested.
Last couple of people to come back in.
Yeah, people could just.
Well, the most important part is that you continue
Yeah.
from where you began, and then we will have questions and answers for you, okay? So I'm going to give this back to you. Give me 1 minute to quiet everyone down because we have a stream going on. Hey, folks, how you doing? We're going to try to quiet this down a little bit so we can continue with Aleksander's presentation. And when the lights go off, we will begin. So please be patient. One more moment. Right, Guillermo? Guillermo. Ah, ha, ha. You see. All right. 9, 8, 7, 6, 10, steady, should, 2, jeden. Start. Okay, Aleksander, it's all yours.
All right. So let's continue. I was talking about dealing with the outside world, and we need to deal with some writing to databases and doing some other operation with the world. And usually these operatings are not pure. So let's take a look again into our insert user function, which basically does the simple console log. We simulate asynchronous inserting. It's not really useful because usually we insert into the database in a synchronous way, but we will change it later. So let's call our insert user. So first of all, we need to create our user model using smart constructor, and we have either some error or user. So we are checking using isLeft helper function. If we had some errors, if we had, we just return with either. In case we have the right value, we call insert user function, and we return a user. And I would like to do something like this. We were not checking for the uniqueness here just at the beginning. So that's totally fine to insert 2 Alexes. And we would like to do something like this. And yeah, we have a duplicate code, basically. And let's talk about referential transparency. And all pure functions have the property of respecting evaluation substitution. What does it mean? That means that the following refactoring should be safe. So we can replace function calling. We can extract this into a separate variable, and we can just reuse it. And it works fine with the pure function. And the question is this refactoring safe in this example? Anyone?
No.
Why?
Should be.
Because objects immutable in your case, I think.
Yeah. Basically, here we have the same values here. So that's totally fine if we have 2 ithers. We just replace the values. But what about side effects? And at the beginning, we had 2 database insertions. So we did here an insert user in the middle of create user function. So if we call it twice, we insert into database twice, right? But if we replace with one create user calling, we just insert user only once, so we cannot replace it safely. So it's not actually safe, and functions with side effects violate this evaluation substitution property. So we don't have reflection transparency, so we cannot refactor our code easily. So how can we achieve this? We can just make it lazy, right? So instead of having calling just create user and to get either immediately, we create a function which doesn't take any parameter and returns either user validation or user. And in this arrow function, we call create user. So we can safely replace these values with a function calling, but this code will not work. We need to call these functions to get values. So in this case, we will insert a user into database twice. So we can inline this function and call it immediately, or we can extract this into a separate variable and simply reuse this. And congratulations, we reinvented IO. So what does it mean? IO with A represent a non-deterministic synchronous computation, but can cause side effects and yields a value of type A and never fails. So let's change our insert user signature. So instead of void, we will return IO with void. So basically by type signature, we warn about some side effects inside. And of course, we make it lazy, so we just return a new function which calls console log. And let's come back to our create user. Is everything still okay with this code?
No.
Why?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. We need to call this because insert user returns an effect, and
1 minute.
it's too hard. Insert user returns an effect IO that must be run, otherwise it will be ignored. So we just call this. And is this type signature fair? No, it's not, because we still return either. We don't warn about any side effects, and we convert this type signature to inform users about some potential side effects. So instead of either, we return IO either, and that's basically we represent like IO either, which basically composes together IO and either. And we can replace actually with IO with either with IO either. And yeah, here we will just use from either helper to convert pure either to IO either. And yeah, looks almost fine, it works, but it's not an idiomatic approach. We shouldn't execute effects directly this way. Rather, we need to compose effects using chain, aka flat map, and transform with flat maps. So let's refactor this. So here we just use pipe function. So we call insert user, and insert user returns IO. So we call map with IO, and we ignore arguments, and we just return a user. So we have IO with either. So it should work. So it's getting better, but it still feels like an imperative code. Do we still need this is left check?
We do. Because we have a limit on our streaming time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the other thing is that the other speakers got specifically 25 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
We want to try to be fair to everyone.
Sorry.
So this is the reason why, if you could wrap this up in 30 seconds, we'd be really appreciative. And if anyone has any questions, you can answer them during
All right.
questions
So,
and answer
okay.
session.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So we can just change it and use this approach. But it doesn't work, and we need to change actually type signature. So that's we use TypeScript,
And that doesn't
and
work.
this
Oh.
code finally compiles and works, and actually looks nice. Let's take a look. User inserting is synchronous, but database operates with asynchronous values. So we use IO promise, but it also contains some errors, and we would like to return either.
Got it.
And
got
we would like to introduce task.
Oh,
Task
yeah.
is basically
Okay.
IO with promise.
Give me the light.
And we have task either, and we can replace it with task either. All right. So we have an asynchronous separation.
I have an idea. I have a great idea.
Oh, sorry.
I think I have an idea that can satisfy everyone in this situation. Explain to me in some concise way, how did you get from the 79th slide to the 82nd slide? There was a part in there that we missed. Can you describe that part in just a very short detail? In other words, there was a moment, from that moment to the 79th slide to the 83rd slide, there was something you skipped over very quickly. So can you just explain that, answer that question for me, please?
So yeah.
Thank you.
Basically,
Just that
I'm
question.
wrapping
Just
up.
that question, please. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Let's skip this.
How did you get from there to there? Yeah, that's the part I want to know. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So wrap up. So yeah, we use it with composing here, and we can handle all
Still
types.
doesn't work, and then almost.
All right. Wrap up.
At the point, it's almost correct, but that's where we were. So can you somehow concisely explain
All
how you
right.
got from it's almost correct to it's working?
All right.
Very concisely. Thank you.
Which one?
It's almost getting a little better, but keep going. Yeah, right there.
So yeah. Here we create a user, and we are checking for is left value, and we return from either. So instead of this, we can do something else. We can call user of. We have pure either here, and we can lift pure either to IO either. So we call from either function. So and now we have IO either, and after that we would like to chain this IO either with another effect. So we would like to insert, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Finally looks great. It
Sir?
says it finally looks great.
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks
doesn't
great.
work. Okay.
It doesn't work. So because we would like to have we need to have IO either, but insert user is IO with void. So the type void is not assignable to either never user. So okay, let's chain IO either. So we can chain with IO. And it still doesn't work. Yeah, because we need to return user, but insert user returns void. So we need to return a previous value, but don't overwrite this. So instead of this, we use chain first IO function. So it's like chain IO and return the previous value.
Yeah.
So and it's
Chain
finally
IO.
works.
Chain IO. Chain. Ah ha ha. Chain IO.
Yeah.
Was the answer. Woo! Whoa! No, and please forgive me because you meticulously organized this presentation. Did he not? In meticulous detail. This is very, very important, and I think most people appreciate that. I am not a developer, so I'm saying, okay, and then I'm always looking for what's going to happen next, and I really understand why you organize, and I really appreciate your organization, and I'm sure that some of us will have questions. And we have a question that they're holding. Okay, let me go to this guy first because his hand went up first. Daniel, sorry.
Is it fine to debug it?
Yeah, it's actually we can debug it normally.
Oh. Thank you.
So yeah, we can debug it normally, and actually we can insert our, let's say, console logs inside of pipeline. So we can actually console log, it's synchronous operation, so it can be turned out like IO. So we can chain IO, and actually I have an example here. So let me take
the answer is
here
yes.
So yeah, we can for example chain left side, and we can, for example, use console log just to print our errors inside of pipeline, or we can also use console log inside of on the right part. So that's totally fine.
A couple of options, yes.
Yeah.
Next question. He was next. Sorry,
Thank you. Is there any sort of generic monad decomposition in FPTS? Like, can you define your own monads and have them be composable?
Yeah, sure. You can define your type classes because FPTS library provides higher-kinded types implementation, and you can extend your with all this ecosystem with your new type classes. So that's totally doable.
Great question, concise answer. Last question, sir? You have another question? You're good. For both of these guys?
Yeah, for both.
Okay, who was that again? I can't remember. There were three. Okay, let me see. One of them I think was for sure you. Was you? And another one, you got a couple already, didn't you? Yeah. Okay, and this is for you. All right. Can we please have a big applause for Aleksander Sorokin? Such a meticulous presentation I have yet to see at this WarsawJS, and I really applaud you for your attention to detail. Folks, in a moment we'll have a lightning talk by, let me get this right, Tatiana Nikitenko. Did I get it right? Tatiana Nikitenko. Don't ask me how I remembered that name. It just rang. It was off the top of my head. Once again, Aleksander, thank you very, very much. And I think she's going to be talking about a hackathon. Is that correct? All right. So please welcome Tatiana. This is the lightning talk. You have 5 minutes. You're going to need this.
Okay. Do you see the slides? So just use arrows.
Hey everyone, what's up?
Hi.
How are you doing today?
We're fine.
Yay! So yeah, I like to present the hackathon I'm organizing in Warsaw at the end of November. It's a startup weekend by Techstars. If you're not familiar with them, it's the second biggest startup accelerator in the world. And I graduated from one of them in Los Angeles. And now I want to bring this culture here. So it's like 54 hours of building and learning how to build startups. If you always dreamed to start your company, you can come and learn. We are bringing all the assets and knowledge base of this huge accelerator network to help you learn how to do that. A lot of cool companies has started at hackathons by Techstars like that. I am sure you're familiar with one of them. And hopefully your company could be on this slide next year. So what is it about? It's 2 days during the weekend plus Friday evening. We form the teams, we vote for the ideas, and then you just grind all the weekend. And we have a lot of cool mentors who will help you, and workshops and pitch competition at the end. And we are partnering with a lot of cool companies like Microsoft, WarsawJS, Scaleway, and some startup incubators and VC funds. So the best companies who will win pitch competition will get a chance to get to Demium incubation program and get funding 100,000 euros. And also from Berlin VC fund APX. So it's a really cool chance to get your idea from the ground and finally start building that unicorn. So yeah, this is it. A very lightning talk. Hope to see you there.
Hold on,
Yep.
I have to give him the microphone. Sorry. Wow, Tatiana.
Do I need to have an idea to get in there, or only a skill?
I have a skill.
Can you just tell the audience at home, because we have a streaming audience, what's the answer? Do I need an idea?
No, you don't even need a skill. Just bring your smile and good attitude.
Do we need a team?
No, you can find a team on the ground.
Probably better if you come with a team, though, right?
Of course, bring your friends.
Yeah, I would think so. Anyone else have any questions for Tatiana? What a fantastic name, Tatiana Nikitenko. I could remember that in my. I really, for some reason, it just rang every bell, and I could remember every part of that name.
Oh,
It's
you're too
fantastic.
kind.
It's really a fantastic name, and your presentation was brilliant, concise, and as I recall, that's November 25th through 27th,
yeah.
and at the Google campus in Praga on the other side of the river.
Exactly.
Everyone knows where that is. Contact us if you're interested, and thank you so much, Tatiana.
Thank you.
You get your free JetBrains license for sure. I have a question here. Does anyone have an idea, or a team, I don't know, for a lightning talk? Because we're giving away free JetBrains licenses. That's 1 year free. And we have so far any candidates for a lightning talk? Anybody out there in TV land? If you can get here in 5 minutes, no, I'm joking. Anyone have an idea? 5 minutes to speak about any topic that you are knowledgeable about, or any information you want to share? Well, okay. In that case, let's see what we can do after this. I think we need to announce that we also have some workshops coming later this month. And where is Piotr Gentara? I'd like to invite back to the stage our illustrious organizer and WarsawJS founder, Piotr Gentara. The stage is yours, and thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you very much, Barry, for inviting me. I would like to I would like to tell you something about our workshops. There will be some workshops on our where is it? Well, I don't know exactly. Anyway, React on any level. It works like this: that some of you might be can be instructors during this workshop as volunteers, and that's why these workshops are very cheap and affordable for the community. We just need like something like around 60 zloty to pay for the room and for the pizza, and then everyone can actually join and learn how to code better. And I wanted to also tell you some of the benefits of being a WarsawJS speaker. We recently created a new subpage where you can see all the WarsawJS speakers, and their talks. So as you know, our YouTube is quite huge now. It has over 430 videos. So we created a script. It doesn't look very well, but it does its job. So you can see all the WarsawJS speakers. There is, for example, Daniel here, and he had 3 talks. Hey, Daniel. So you can see his talks over here, and that's something I think it's quite cool, and it's for you for better recognition in the community and the whole internet. So yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. And there will be the 100th WarsawJS on the 13th of January. So
Which is Friday the 13th?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
It's Friday. And it's an exception. It's an exception because it's going to be a really big party. So we want you to sleep well on Saturday. So that's. Yes, exactly. So this time we make an exception, because usually we have WarsawJS always on the second Wednesday of the month, but this time it will be the 13th and Friday, and the 100th WarsawJS. So that's why we moved it to Friday. But there will be also a meeting, the 99th meeting in December, of course. So as usually on the second Wednesday. All right, that's everything from me.
Radio IT?
Radio IT. Oh, Radio IT. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Louisa, are you ready? Listen, so this will be our own personal Halloween, I guess, celebration. 100th WarsawJS meetup on Friday the 13th. It sounds like Halloween to me. I don't know. It should be a lot of fun. So we really are looking forward to seeing you guys there, everyone involved. And please do. First, can I say one more thing? Do we have time? Mr. Gentara? Yes. Okay. I'd like to speak to you guys one more time about Radio IT. It just so happens that together with WarsawJS and XFang, we have created a podcast called Radio IT. And this is the place where art, music, and technology meet. And we think that you'll all be very interested in a lot of things that we present during this radio podcast, which now is becoming a video podcast. Our first video podcast is going to occur shortly. Can you get me that QR code again, please, before we show that? Yeah. Would everyone please do me a favor, scan this QR code, and please contact us at our link, Radio IT, and also share Radio IT with your friends, family, and everyone that you love, because this should be really a lot of fun. The largest attraction of this is that there's some interesting information about what's going on in Poland in general and in the world in terms of development in IT. Some interesting personalities. We've had several as guests in the past. Really, really interesting, and kind of like, laid back, relaxed, kind of real talk about what we can do, what we are doing, what we're planning in the future. Where are we going with all of this? The other thing is that the music is the kind of music that if you sit at your computer all day, it's the kind of thing that you can just have running. So come for the music and please stay for the vibe. Here is our trailer, which is an example of what you can expect. Forget about how I look now. You should see it. It's a disaster. What you can expect during our first video podcast. So can we play that now? You ready?
وبلاد الأمان وخير ليا من كل مكان وناس الناس الجود والإحسان من زمان الحرية تنيري وتنيري ونزاف ونزا تنيري وتنيري ونزاف ونزا تنيري وتنيري ونزاف ونزا تنيري
From this guy. Okay, I have feedback for real now. I just want to say, There are so many interesting musicians and artists who come to Warsaw and come together in Warsaw to create music digitally mostly, because we're about the connection between the technology and the music. This is the important part. It doesn't just drop out of space. We have to somehow record it. We have to somehow present it. We have to somehow transmit the music to you. And this is where developments in technology are constantly evolving. So that interview with him was really fascinating, I promise you, and we please welcome you and hope that you will contact us. Find us, please, link, like, share, subscribe, and looking forward to that soon. So is that it? Are we done? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience and for your participation. Hope to see you again at the 99th. Thank you very much. Thank you, Piotr and Tara. Thank you, organizers. Thank you, technical team. Louisa, I love you. And Maciej Maksniewski, love you. Talk soon. Thank you. From where? Munich. What is this Munich? I'm thinking she came from Munich. You made it back from Munich today. Welcome. It's great to see you, because I'm going, where's Gabby? And I'm like, I can't find you. Here you are. Thank you. It's a pleasure. And thank you for being such a steadfast organizer, because this is not simple. This is not an easy thing to organize, I promise you. So you're masterfully gifted at that, and we thank you for that. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Have a good night.